There's something in a woman's gaze that just isn't the same anymore. It's not about vague intuition or paranoia. It's that uneasy, almost physical feeling that something between you has changed. The tone of her voice, her distance, her silences. When a woman has been with you, her energy is familiar. And when she's been with another man, you can feel that too, even if no one says it out loud. It's a kind of coldness mixed with guilt, a clumsy attempt to maintain normalcy while something inside her has already drifted away. And the most unsettling part isn't the betrayal itself, but the moment you realize that the intimacy you once shared now belongs to someone else. Many men try to ignore these signs or cling to logical explanations to justify what they feel. They think they're overreacting, that it's work, stress, or just a passing phase. But deep down, they know. When a woman changes after being with another man, she shows it in her gestures, her timing, the way she avoids your touch, or how she suddenly dresses differently for no clear reason. This video isn't meant to fuel jealousy or turn you into a detective. It's meant to bring you clarity, to help you read the truth without her having to say it. Certain behaviors, if you learn to observe them calmly, reveal more than words ever could. If this is your first time here, my name is Celia. I've spent years helping men understand the emotional language of women and rebuild their personal foundation after disappointment. My approach is direct, ethical, and realistic, no drama, no manipulation. I invite you to subscribe and stay until the end, because today you'll not only identify the 7 signs that she's been with another man, but you'll also learn how to keep your dignity, your composure, and your strength, even when facing the hardest truth. Let's begin. When a woman has truly been involved with you, her emotional closeness is unmistakable. There's a warmth in her voice, a natural attention to small details, and a particular way she seeks you without saying it. But when that connection suddenly breaks, when the affection that once flowed starts to feel forced or mechanical, it's because something has shifted inside her. One of the clearest signs that she's been with another man is that inexplicable emotional distance that appears overnight. She doesn't look at you the same, she doesn't touch you the same, and when she does, there's an absence behind her gestures. It's not that she doesn't want to be with you, it's that her mind and body are processing a contrast that didn't exist before. Up to now, many men confuse this coldness with fatigue, stress, or routine. But when the distance remains even during pleasant moments, when you feel her disconnected, even in a casual conversation, it's a sign her emotional focus is no longer on you. Women can't fake attachment once they've crossed an intimate line with another man. She may keep up her routines, but the sparkle fades from her gaze, her tone becomes more neutral, and her need to share the details of her day dissolves. The sense of complicity dims because she no longer needs your emotional validation. The most painful detail is that this distance often doesn't come with conflict. In fact, she may grow kinder, more accommodating, as if trying to offset guilt with empty gestures of affection. But there's no spontaneity, no desire for real connection. She listens, but she no longer hears you. She's present, but she isn't with you. And that emptiness, even without an obvious explanation, feels like a constant shadow between you. If she was an active part of the relationship, this emotional shift isn't random. It's the consequence of having shared her intimacy with someone else. What matters most here is not reacting from the wound. Don't interrogate her. Don't confront her with reproaches or sarcasm. Calm observation is your greatest advantage. A man with emotional control doesn't need immediate answers because he understands that time always reveals the truth. If there's emotional distance, your job isn't to chase her. It's to get centered again. A woman's coldness only holds when a man loses his composure. If you stay steady, her inconsistency will expose itself. Emotional distance is the first crack, the one that foreshadows what comes next. And if you learn to read it without impulses, you'll spare yourself the pain of pretending everything is the same. When the bond grows cold without explanation, it's not the immediate end, but it is the beginning of a truth that can't stay hidden for long. The second, and one of the most obvious signs that something in her intimate life has changed, is when her routine starts shifting abruptly. The woman who once kept a steady pattern, her hours, habits, calls, messages, suddenly has impossible days, unexpected outings, or periods when she simply disappears without a logical explanation. It's not that work suddenly got more demanding, or that her friends need to see her every day. It's that someone else is taking up part of her time, someone with whom she's reorganizing her schedule. Even if she doesn't say it, her behavior gives it away. A perceptive man notices it in the small details. She no longer replies with the same ease, her timing goes off, and excuses appear that don't quite fit. I fell asleep, my phone died, I forgot to tell you. Simple phrases that, when repeated, signal a deliberate disconnection. A woman at peace with you keeps you in the loop because sharing time reaffirms the bond. When she starts hiding or fragmenting her activities, it's because she needs space to maintain a parallel story without raising suspicion. We've seen how emotional distance is the first silent alert. Changes in routine are the practical confirmation, the external moves that match the internal disconnect. If she used to text right after work and now takes hours, if you had set days to see each other and suddenly she can't at those exact times, you're looking at a structural change, not a coincidence. She doesn't need to give you full explanations because she's busy crafting a narrative that fits her new dynamic. And the more she digs for excuses, the more obvious the inconsistency becomes. There's something very telling in how she answers when you ask about her plans. If she gets irritated, over-explains, or grows nervous over a simple question, she's trying to cover a gap she knows she can't hold. Not necessarily because she wants to lie, but because her body is already acting out of guilt. At that point, what speaks isn't her words, it's her micro-gestures, the averted gaze, the shifting tone, the pause before replying. Understand that you're not chasing a confession, you're seeking clarity. Changes in routine aren't direct proof of infidelity, but they do show your place in her life has been downgraded. That loss of priority always has a cause. So watching calmly, without confrontation, is smarter than demanding answers under pressure. Every woman who pulls away without explaining is, in reality, testing how much she can hide before the other person notices. Most grow confident when the man acts as if nothing's happening. Your steady silence is the most effective way to reveal the truth because it tests her coherence. This isn't about controlling her. It's about seeing which version of her shows up when you don't push. If there's truth, she'll become consistent again. If not, the disorder in her routine will expose her without you saying a word. A woman's body is the most honest reflection of what she feels, even when she tries to hide it. When she's been with another man, her body language changes in subtle but steady ways. She may still hug you, but there's no surrender in it. She may kiss you, but her body stays rigid, distant. She may sleep with you, but you feel her absence, as if her mind were elsewhere. These physical variations are among the deepest and most painful signs, because they break the most intimate bond you shared, mutual desire. At first, you might notice she avoids spontaneous touch. She doesn't sit as close, she doesn't seek your caresses like before, or she finds excuses to postpone intimacy. Her tone grows more neutral, her gaze evasive, her breathing shifts when you're near. Sometimes she even shows discomfort when you touch her, though she masks it with a polite smile. That doesn't necessarily mean rejection, it means guilt. Your touch clashes with the inner contradiction of having crossed a line with someone else, and that tension betrays her. So far, emotional distance and routine changes have set the stage. But when the body disconnects, the truth becomes physical. If the way she kisses, hugs, or looks at you no longer carries the same warmth, don't dismiss it as a mere phase. Women don't separate desire from emotion as easily as men. When they give their body to someone else, something inside reconfigures. Their energy shifts, their gaze changes, their touch feels different. No matter how hard she tries to act normal, that disconnect is impossible to hide from someone who knows her natural rhythm. There's another key detail, the contrast between avoidance and exaggerated affection. Sometimes, after a recent affair, she may try to compensate for guilt with over-the-top tenderness or a sudden eagerness to please you. But that warmth isn't genuine, It feels forced, incoherent, as if she were trying to convince you of something she doesn't believe herself. When desire is real, it flows without calculation. When it's born of remorse, it feels like acting. The key isn't to hunt for proof, it's to trust your perception. If you know her well, you can tell the difference between sincere affection and a mechanical response. Masculine instinct picks up those nuances before the rational mind does. What hurts isn't just the act, it's the invisible shift in the energy she projects. And that energy doesn't lie. The most damaging reaction a man can have to these signs is to force closeness, as if increasing physical intensity could restore the lost connection. That only deepens the distance. Do the opposite, step back, observe, stand firm. If the bond still holds truth, she'll move toward you again. If not, the void will grow more obvious with each attempt. In distance, the truth that desire can no longer sustain always rises to the surface. When a woman starts acting defensive without a concrete reason, when a simple question becomes an argument, or when she grows irritated by things she once ignored, you're seeing guilt more than fatigue. A woman hiding something lives in a constant state of alert. Her mind is busy keeping a story straight, and any comment that feels like a threat triggers an outsized reaction. That sudden irritability isn't random. It's a way to guard her secret by preempting confrontation. We've talked about emotional distance, routine shifts, and physical disconnect. Those happen in silence. Defensiveness is when the tension becomes visible. It begins with small arguments where she overreacts, accuses you of being controlling, or says you don't trust her for no reason. The irony is that the man who isn't searching for proof or interrogating ends up labeled the problem. That role reversal is an unconscious projection. She tries to ease her guilt by shifting responsibility onto you. If she can make you feel guilty, she can deflect attention from her own inconsistency. A clear example is when you ask a simple question and she replies with, "Why don't you trust me?" or "I don't like being controlled." She isn't answering what you asked. She's reacting to the fear you'll discover something. A woman with a clear conscience answers calmly, explains, communicates. One who's hiding evades, changes the subject, or stirs up conflict to justify her distance. The dominant emotion stops being affection and becomes irritation. Another common sign is hypersensitivity. If she gets offended easily, interprets everything as criticism, or seems to look for excuses to fight, she's showing the strain of living with a secret. Sometimes even the man's tone of voice bothers her, not for what he says, but for what it reminds her of. That discomfort turns into emotional and verbal rejection. The most common mistake is matching her intensity. When she raises her voice and you respond in kind, she feels validated in keeping her distance because she now has the perfect pretext. We argue all the time. In reality, she provokes those arguments to justify the drift and tell herself the relationship just wasn't working. That's why serenity is your strongest shield. If you respond calmly, without trying to win, without entering the emotional game, you throw her off balance. A lie needs noise to survive. Silence and coherence expose it. A woman with nothing to hide seeks dialogue. A woman afraid of being found out seeks conflict. When you see her irritable for no reason, remember you're not facing her real anger. You're facing the reflection of her guilt. There's nothing to debate there, only to observe. When a woman is being unfaithful, her body and energy speak before her words do. It's common for her to suddenly pay unusual attention to her appearance, to change how she dresses, or to start caring about details that used to go unnoticed. It's not that she's newly interested in looking good, it's that someone else is watching, someone for whom she wants to project a new version of herself. The change isn't in the clothes, it's in the intention behind them. You notice it in how she chooses her outfits, the perfume she wears, how she matches colors, or how she studies herself in the mirror before leaving. The contrast is often obvious. Maybe for years she had a predictable, comfortable, even careless style, and suddenly she reappears refreshed, more provocative or more meticulous. Or the change may be subtle but steady, a different manicure, a new hairstyle, a new fragrance. Up to now, the earlier signs showed up emotionally and behaviorally. This one is a conscious physical expression. The unfaithful woman often uses her body to channel the excitement she lives in secret. Her grooming improves, her posture shifts, and her eyes look brighter, more alert. Another contradiction can appear. The more attractive she looks outside, the less available she becomes inside the relationship. That disconnect between image and desire is one of the most revealing signs. She might start dressing up more to go out with friends, or she invests unusual time in personal care without a clear reason. But when you see her, it isn't for you. Her energy isn't directed toward your gaze. It's seeking validation elsewhere. That's the key, the direction of desire. It's not only the outer look, her sexual energy changes too. The desire that used to flow with you now expresses differently. She may grow more distant, or she may even become bolder, trying to mask guilt with forced passion. At both extremes, the imbalance is obvious. If intimacy fades or turns mechanical, if you feel she's performing a role, the desire isn't shared. Her body is with you, but her mind isn't. Here's another point, the light in her eyes. When a woman is emotionally or physically involved with another man, her gaze carries a different hue, a kind of vitality that doesn't come from you. It's a mix of curiosity, nerves, and anticipated pleasure. Even if she tries to hide it, her energy gives her away. She isn't the same woman you knew because she's experiencing the validation of being desired by someone else. At this stage, the wisest move is to observe without accusing. You don't need to call out her change. If you do, she'll deny it and use it to reinforce the story of, "You're controlling me," or "You're imagining things." Strategic silence is your best tool. The more self-assured you are, the harder it is for her to sustain the deception. Women notice when a man stops trying to convince them. That's when guilt starts doing its work. Don't focus on the hairstyle, the clothes, or the perfume. Focus on the energy behind them. When a woman dresses for you, she wants to see you smile. When she dresses for someone else, her gaze drifts toward a place you no longer belong. When a woman has shared her body and energy with another man, the next thing to die is the symbolic bond, the invisible thread tying together your projects, your daily gestures, and your shared vision of the future. She stops saying we and starts saying I. She no longer talks about trips, changes, or shared goals. Suddenly, what once excited her with you feels irrelevant. It isn't an announced breakup, but it is a deep emotional detachment that shows in how she stops including you in her life, even in the smallest details. So far, we've seen signs that show up in the body, habits, and attitude. This one is quiet, but definitive. Symbolic disconnection is where infidelity stops being a physical secret and becomes an emotional renunciation. She stops asking about things that once mattered, no longer seeks to plan, and loses interest in what you're building together. Instead, she acts as if the relationship were a transition, something temporary, without real weight. It often appears through small omissions, no talk of the future, indifference to your achievements, or simply avoiding deeper conversations. The hardest part is that she doesn't do it with anger. She does it with calm. That cold calm isn't peace, it's detachment. A woman who still loves you argues, gets emotional, demands, engages. When she's already given herself emotionally to someone else, she stops investing energy in the relationship. That indifference is more revealing than any fight. Many men mistake that calm for maturity. They think she's just more serene, or that we argue less now. In reality, that apparent serenity comes from having let go of the mental bond with you. She no longer worries about tending the shared space because inside, she belongs elsewhere. You can hear it in how she speaks, in her long silences, in the short, disinterested replies when you bring up plans. Don't be fooled by apparent stability. Silence isn't always harmony. Sometimes it's the echo of something already broken. If a woman stops projecting a future with you, it's because her energy is invested in sustaining another connection, even if she hasn't said it aloud. When the symbolic bond is cut, the relationship enters its final phase. even if you're still sharing the same space. The key now is not to force life back into what's lost its meaning. Forcing talks, demanding explanations, or fishing for reactions only accelerates the disconnect. The wise move is to observe, hold your frame, and accept that love can't be begged or rescued when the other person has already left internally. A man's dignity is measured by his ability not to plead for what no longer exists. If she no longer sees a future with you, it's time to build yours without her. When a woman erases the we, the only thing left is to reclaim your I. Reaching the confirmation of infidelity isn't just uncovering a fact, it's facing a wound to your pride, trust, and dignity. It hits the masculine soul hard, especially when you showed up with sincerity. Yet this is where you most need to demonstrate the kind of man you are, not with violence or coldness, but with resolve. What you do next will define not only how things end with her, but how you continue with yourself. Most people react from anger or pain, seeking answers, shouting, humiliating themselves, or trying to understand why. None of that heals. A woman who has betrayed you can't offer an explanation that fixes what she broke. This is where calm becomes your best defense. If you confirm she was unfaithful, don't give her the show she expects. Silence and a steady gaze weigh more than 1,000 words. Don't seek revenge. The real consequence for the one who betrays isn't the other's fury, but the inner contrast between guilt and the serenity of the one who doesn't fall apart. Your role isn't to prove anything to her, it's to remember who you are. A man who keeps his emotional control when everything collapses understands his worth doesn't depend on anyone else's behavior. Up to this point, we've walked through signs pointing to the same conclusion: diverted desire, distance, loss of connection, and emotional detachment. This final step isn't about watching her anymore, it's about focusing on you. When a woman crosses that line, the only question that matters isn't, why did she do it, but what are you going to do with it? Your response must come from self-respect, not resentment. If you choose to stay, do it with clarity, not fear of being alone. If you decide to leave, do it quietly, with your head high. No woman forgets the calm of a man who neither begs nor destroys. She remembers it because, in that moment, she faces the reflection of what she lost. The worst mistake is becoming judge or executioner. You don't need to expose or humiliate her. The respect you hold, even at the end, says more about your strength than her betrayal does. A woman's infidelity isn't your defeat. It's an invitation to fortify yourself and redefine your value beyond external validation. It will hurt, of course, but pain also teaches you to distinguish genuine love from an attachment to illusion. When you can let that illusion go, you'll realize you didn't lose a woman. You let go of the chance to stay tied to someone who no longer chose you. If you confirm the infidelity, step away with order, without dramatic explanations. Create distance, focus on rebuilding, and remember the most magnetic trait, even after betrayal, is the energy of a man who doesn't break. Dignity is the last refuge of a self-respecting man. Guard it like gold. Everything else can return, but once you lose self-respect, nothing replaces it. The end of a story doesn't define your worth, it defines your growth. Infidelity can break you, but it can also refine you. It depends on how you choose to go through it. Don't look for revenge, look for evolution. When a man rises from pain without losing his composure, nothing has power over him again. There are moments in a man's life that aren't measured by what he wins, but by what he refuses to lose. Calm, dignity, and self-respect are the only true victories when betrayal comes to light. You can't control what a woman does, but you can control how you respond. And in that response, the kind of man you'll be from here on is forged. If you learn to read the signs, if you knew how to observe without breaking, and if you manage to act without losing your center, you've already taken the most important step, stopping the emotional dependence on someone who doesn't value your devotion. Infidelity isn't just the end of a relationship, it's the mirror that shows how much you've grown or how much self-mastery you still need. Some stay trapped in anger, looking for justice or mercy where love no longer exists. Others understand that true closure doesn't come when the other person apologizes. It comes when you decide to stop arguing with the past. What you lived, painful as it is, also shaped you. It gave you clarity about what you won't accept again and what you deserve to build ahead. When a man understands that, he stops begging for love and starts choosing respect, even if it means walking alone for a while. From today on, whenever you doubt yourself, remember this: a man's value isn't measured by how many women choose him, but by how he behaves when one betrays him. If you can stay whole in the middle of chaos, you've already won the most important battle, the battle to master yourself. From that serenity, everything that comes next, a new relationship, a new love, a new version of you, will arrive at the right time. Thanks for staying till the end. If this content helped you or made you think, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss upcoming videos. Your support makes a difference and gives meaning to this work. I'd also love for you to comment with your name and country so I know where in the world you're tuning in from. If you feel up to it, share your experience or leave advice for other men going through the same thing. I'm always reading. See you in the next video.